Ulonkata bati yada to ye ko madaifa inu to ye ko je lo vivi pa Oba tala oba takutakun Songo Eshu Ogun Oya Osun Kini ṣẹ̀ṣe tán ṣe nílé yìí o ó jẹ́ lọ jára.
Alafia, peace and blessings, peace and blessings. Welcome to another episode of the African Spirituality Experience. I am your host, Orisha Bami, and today we're about to get the block party real hot and get it started, man. These Ashe streets, we got the thunder and lightning effect going on today, man. We got the big chief in the building, and then we got the scientist in the building as well with the brother Bdell1014. So we ain't even gonna waste no time, family. I appreciate all the love, the support, the new subscribers, the new members, everything, man. We are the comments, the people been going ham on the comments with the love, man. So I definitely appreciate all y'all. And we just getting started, man. We ain't even warmed up yet. So I want to get this thing cracking without a further ado. So Big Chief, man, appreciate you for having me. For coming on again and joining us by Brother Bdell 2 times in 1 week. I appreciate you too as well, brother.
You know, we here to bang bang and shake the brain on this 2-ball cane thug thing. You understand what I'm saying? You know, they put certain people together. It's like mixing the right chemicals to make a bomb, baby. We here about to shake it up. You know, we just gonna be kicking the game to us, but to other people, they gonna learn something.
Yes, sir, and they learning a lot too, man. That's real. That's real. I tell you what, listen, I want to jump right in. So too, because I got to check out your video you just put, I think like yesterday or the day before, Bdell, and then Brother Rod, I've been seeing your stuff you've been dropping. So look, just that alone is enough for me to go. But you know, with the posts I've been seeing from you on Facebook, Rod, and then Bdell with your stream you just did, I think yesterday, when it comes to the thing called Gematria, right? I know there's been a lot of dates that we're seeing that's got a lot of significance to them. So with today being 6/6, right? And then with it being a 9-year, and since the last time I spoke to both of y'all, I done seen earthquakes, volcanoes, I done seen goddamn hailstorms, ice storms in Florida. I done seen red orbs in Florida. I've seen the gold melting in Hawaii. Like, it's a whole lot going on, boy, since the last time we talked. So if I ain't know no better, I definitely would say it is Mamageddon, and the matriarchs have returned. So when it goes to the mothers, and let's just go with the number 6/6. What is that kind of bringing us to when we're talking about this day and time, Brother Bdell, with the Gematria aspects?
Well, when you get into Vedic Gematria, the Gematria system is connected to the binary code system of the matrix. So that's why everything within the simulation, it has a number, and that number operates on the system of a cycle. So that's why if you notice everything in as far as like historical context and biblical context, there's always a cycle and a transitional shift that takes place that's also corresponding with the numerical system that is acclimated to the event or whatever agenda or whatever type of black swan orchestration that they're trying to perpetuate to carry out a certain agenda as far as like, you know, totalitarian system. So everything as far as like, for instance, like around this time last year, the boxer Garcia, I forgot his name, but he said something about an earthquake was going to be taking place on June 6th. So the same thing actually translates to now, because we just have earthquakes going on in on the Seamount Axle over in that area. You got the volcanoes, Mount Etna. You got all these things happening at one time because Mother Nature is being turned on. So that's, like I said, everything corresponds with, you know, those solar eclipses that took place from 2017, 2023, and 2024. Those 3 solar eclipses corresponds with the energies of nature that's taking place right now. So that's why I said Earth has a chakra system. So when you have those neutrinos collaborating to the planet, it's going to activate that Kundalini serpent. So we, like you said, we're in a 9 years. So that's like a mirror flip, what Rod would say. A 9 is basically a 6. You know what I'm saying? If you're looking at, so the numerical codex in itself is also, it has an octave vibration. Numbers have different dimensional realities to them. If you ever notice about time traveling, I learned this probably, you know, a few months ago. You can time travel just by the octave vibration of the numbers. So like, for instance, like a person can be born in 1957 and he, you know, meets up and amalgamates with a woman who was born in 1975. You can time up just based on the numbers. It's a mirror flip.
Yeah, no, that's real. And I love it too. And Big Chief, I've been peeping you, man, and I already know because this like it's so dope to see how all this like kind of coagulates together, man. Like Brother Bdell, we was talking about this earlier, and I think Big Chief, man, you were talking about it the other day, but how it's all like how the alignments is so dope and powerful and divine. But you have mentioned many a times about the energy upgrade, the frequency upgrade, and all these solar flares and all these things that we're seeing in real time, which I've been seeing as soon as we first started talking about it. I seen them like just increase like crazy. And then I also saw you had mentioned about something big happening coming up in September as well. So what we're seeing right now, which you've been heavy on you've been pedal to the metal with dropping it from a astrological and a cosmic level. What we're seeing now, how does all that tie into whatever it is that we might be anticipating to take place in September, as well as how that aligns with what we're dealing with now?
Okay, so the numerical correspondence is the grooves on the record. Right. So when you see the numbers, that's like seeing a musical note carry. Now, the cause and effect aspect, when you see these alignments and these numbers aligning, it's telling you that the cause is at play. And by following the frequency, which is the heartbeat of change, following the frequency in which things happen, it's like you have a heart monitor on change taking place. Each event is a blip on the heart monitor, right? So I tell everybody, if you study gematria, be sure to study numerology and use them in tandem. Numerology is telling you what gematria is explaining, what the gematria is telling you. The gematria will tell you 683, right? That's 13. Wait a minute, no. 18.
Yeah.
Right? But numerology tell you that it's 9. And because it's a 9, that means it's a birth, born, a fulfillment of an event, right? So you watching the heartbeat of change, but to the earth's shooting resonance is the labor pains, mama in labor, right? And then the solar flares is daddy telling mama in Lamar's class, breathe, baby, breathe. Don't forget to breathe. Blow it out. Relax. This is him coaching her through the birthing process. So now we got a heart monitor hooked up to Mother Earth, birthing the new reality while the father son whisper in her ear exactly what need to be done in order to push this baby out without no major complications. Because daddy's a doctor too. So he's sending her back the information that he's whispering in her ear on his solar flares is coding instructions on what to birth in the new realm. So when the age is coming in, she's going to go through her labor pains, and then the sisters is going to feel it when she start calling them to attention, and you're going to see that come out in the Schumann resonance in a honeycomb pattern. Right? Because Queen Bee is calling all of the bees back home in order to reconstruct the hive and repair the hive mind because somebody they infiltrated. So how are they gonna do it? They ain't gonna need no guns. They calibrating mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of the cell. Pass only through the mother line. So while the mitochondria is taking the instructions from Mama Earth as she's hiving, she had what's called the anchor person. The anchor person, we would call her Isis or Inanna because she's the one who sits on the sacerdotal seat. Right? So in order for the hive to begin to repair itself, the hive itself calls back the queen mother of the earth, who comes back in order to make sure that her 12 daughters, the 12 daughters of Isis, as they refer to, is all put back on the 12 seats of the matriarchal order of the earth. So what we watching the events, we not prophesying, we're reading the cause and effect of the change that's taking place in the dynamic that's moving the people on the earth based on the conversation between the sun and the earth. And periodically, the little badass girl Luna gonna come whisper in your ear and drive you to lunacy. Then they gonna label you a lunatic.
Yeah.
But she gonna be all right because her big sister Lilith, when she take that little 3-day nap, gonna come in and spank on her boo-boo and tell her don't do that no more.
Listen, look, I didn't want to interrupt, but when you saying this, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, but all I can see is the scene in Black Panther when Killmonger had took over and they had a meeting of the council. You know what I'm saying? And his mother was like, "Yo, we got to do something about this dude. Like this dude wild." You know what I'm saying? And they had a meeting with all the other leaders and the kings and queens of Wakanda. Like they was like, "We got to do something." Like that's what I see in my mind. Like what you saying is happening right now. Like, but it's
that's
happening
exactly
real
what's happening. But the $1 million question is, why the Wakandans didn't want Killmonger to take over? What was his agenda? Remember?
Well, listen, but that's where Hollywood flips the script on. You know, they'll put the truth, but they'll mix it up and throw audibles at you. So for me, I'm rooting for Killmonger because I know he represents what I'm looking at.
Well, not whether we rooting for him or not. We had to look at Killmonger because he got the blood and the right.
Right.
Okay, now anybody with the blood and the right to take the throne deserve the same respect as long as they're respectable.
Right.
But
So
what was Killmonger's agenda that the Wakandan Council didn't want him to do?
Go to war.
Nah. He was ready to go to war, but it was more than war.
He was trying to unify, I believe.
Not just Wakandans. Everywhere somebody that looked like us at.
Right.
Yeah.
He wanted to use the vibranium, right, to educate, arm, and enrich the rest of the melanated people of the world. Do you remember what T'Challa Mama told him? She told him that's not what we're here for. See, she's looking at something sacred. In this case, it's the vibranium, but in real life, it's the iridium that's in Haiti.
Sure.
All right. Now, she's telling him that they don't want to break bread with the rest of the world, just the tribes. Now, how many tribes was it? Do you remember?
Was it 12?
In the Wakanda Council?
It was 12, wasn't it?
I believe it was 13. 13 tribes.
How many was it?
I think it was 13.
I don't know. I
don't remember, 12. But I educated guess I'm giving 13 because that's matriarchal. So
okay. We're gonna go with the 13 as the number. Okay. And 13 being the number of the Queen Mother seat, the Queen Mother is the mother of the king. Not his wife.
The 12 plus so to me, I'm seeing 12 plus the king would be the 13. Is that correct? Or is it 13?
The Queen Mother's seat is the 13th seat.
Got you.
The identity of the Queen Mother is she is the mother of the king, not his wife. Right? Now, she gonna pick 12 daughters to come before him that represent the 12 signs of the zodiac, but it also represents the 12 daughters of Isis that they told you was Israeli tribes. The usurper is the Jacobin coming to steal the birthright. As the new age is being birthed, the dragon was slain between the two pillars. Some revelations, right? So they trying to tell you that they only want a small select group to benefit. Killmonger want all of us to benefit. He's what you call a humanitarian.
Shango.
He's the true humanitarian because he want to save all of the people that been going through the same struggle he been going through. But T'Challa only care about the Wakandans in his little part of Oakland.
Yep.
Let that sink in.
That's deep. That's real deep. And when we talk about from a metaphysical or even a spiritual aspect, like the number 66 to me, when you talk about the E5 pantheon, that represents the Odu of Obara Meiji. Obara Meiji is Shango's primary Odu, on top of that being the Odu of the pyramid builders. So it's like there's a lot of symbolism and it's a lot of alignment in everything you just said, Big Chief.
So this is the difference. Comparative analysis is what I be doing. You already know everything I'm telling you, but you didn't know it until I use common things to describe metaphysical ideas in terms that you can relate to, which minimizes the cognitive dissonance. Right? So when we need to reclaim the earth, all I got to do is tell them I'm on Big Mama's mission and they know what I'm doing. Especially the elder sisters. When the elder sisters get the message, they put it in the hive. We don't believe the hive mind of the women still exists. Right? That's why we keep losing relationship-wise, because we keep trying to out-slick a hive of women. And even the one you slicking with is in the hive telling on you while she's creeping with you. So you come home, normally you could stay gone for 3 days and your wife don't even care. But now you done been with this chick. She didn't put it on the hive. Now she can't sleep. You open the door. She's standing there with her hands on her hip talking about where you been. She ain't never asked you that before, but why this time? The women test the men's honesty using that method.
Yep.
If he gonna be 100, she don't care how many chicks he got. But if he gonna try to be slick about it, they gonna fuck around and get fed up with him and turn his mitochondria off.
That's so real. I swear to God, I was just saying that. I was just having that conversation I think it was last night. That's real. Just be real.
One of them can't do it by herself. Or else we'd have been damn near dead if one of them could do it by herself. Because we didn't all piss the woman off so bad that we singing the blues trying to apologize.
Yeah.
Ain't no love in the heart of the city.
Old music though.
Ain't no love in the heart of town. We sitting there singing the blues for that one, because I'm a good thing. We grateful that she can't influence the whole tribe because we ain't all bad. It's just that we fell out with her.
Yes, sir.
But now with everywhere you go, you fall out with every woman you run across, you in the hot seat, buddy.
Right.
They will either turn your testosterone all the way up where you crash out, or they gonna turn your mitochondria off. Where you shrivel up.
That part. Yes, sir. Nah, that's real. That's real. That's why I don't mess with black women, boy. I don't want no smoke, not damn day, not yesterday.
It don't matter. She ain't gotta be black.
You're right. No woman.
She ain't gotta be black. Trust me. I done found them in every skin color.
Oh yeah, it's a female period because you're dealing with the creator energy.
Yeah, they all in the hive. I'm telling you. I done peeped inside the hive. They done gave me a preview. That's some spooky shit when you first experience it, because it sounds like you in the auditorium listening to a whole bunch of people talking.
want it.
Then it's on into the ones that you need to hear. It's like somebody actually tune you in to the voices that you need to hear.
Right.
But you got to be a guest to all of the women. They gotta love you more than they hate you.
Yeah.
And the more they love you, the higher your rank go. That's how you develop the king bee. It's only one. Because the rest of them couldn't pass all them tests they put him through.
Mm-hmm. That part. That's facts. Brother Bdell, when it comes to damn, there's so much alignment, man. When it comes to I don't know which one I want to go to, because I'm thinking about either the Annabelle doll or even the what is it, Kachina prophecy? Or
yeah, we can do the Kachina.
Yeah, because all of it to me
it's all related.
Like,
yeah, it is. Everything is related because the neutrinos are the ancestors. Because one thing you got to understand about, the astrocytes in the brain, it creates like nutrients and it creates more neurons in the brain to where it's able to connect with the trilateral system of the Utu, Apsu, and Shamish that all corresponds with Bible's word. So the blue star Kachina and the red star Kachina corresponds with the presynaptic and the postsynaptic and the trisynaptic. So that's also working in conjunction with what they talking about, the Ark of the Covenant, which is the sphenoid bone, where you have the amalgamation of the pituitary gland, the hypothalamus gland, and the pineal gland. Those three energies and those functions of the brain is tether connected by a tachyon energy that magnetizes to the three celestial bodies of the suns, right? So that's why I was saying, like, the energy of the sun is what's giving us these so-called downloads. It's giving a download to nature. It's giving a download to those who have the birthright to the planet. So, like, it all corresponds with, Superman. Remember Superman? He was able to pull this energy from the sun, that plasma energy, right? So that's why I was saying, as far as like the color spectrum of Superman, he had the red garments, yellow garments, blue garments. It all corresponds with the energies of the sun. That's what it's all about. So that creates the activation of the black dots, because even when you look at the mythology of Superman, they they basically equate him to Jesus, and Jesus is Eucus, which is holding the serpent. So when you look at the symbolism of Superman's chest, that's a serpent on his chest. So the resurrection of the man is what activates, his spiritual capabilities.
Now, what would we metaphorically speaking? How would we what would we attribute like kryptonite? And I forgot the name of the villain that was in Superman, but will we not look at that kind of like what we're looking at as the system, or as saying like I would say like the papal system, and saying the three arms of the three-headed monster, whether it be the Vatican, whether it be England, whether it be the military here in the US, like, is that what we would look at as our version of the kryptonite or the enemy of Superman? If that's
kryptonite in the physical world is individualized. You notice that all of the people from where Superman they don't have a weakness to kryptonite. So it's like Achilles' heel. It's a weakness specific to him. Every man got his weakness. Some is drugs, some is sex, some is gambling, some is hustling, some is shooting, some is fighting, right? But once you know what his weakness is, he can be easily exploited.
Facts.
Right. Now, Superman is operating off of UV rays.
Fact.
The difference, the Hawk is operating off gamma rays. Two different frequencies moving in the same direction, having a similar result on two different genetic pools. Superman genetics come from another planet, but Hawk's genetics comes from Earth. Right? When a red sun strikes Superman, the gamma rays, based on his blood type from the planet he's from, it adds power to him. Whereas the Hawk, once he's been exposed to the gamma ray, his biochemistry moves him to become the Hawk. Right? So he only becomes a Hawk in his emotionally heightened state. Right? Otherwise, he's just Banner.
Yep.
right? He's just a regular old dude, minding his business, walking down the street. Now take the exaggeration out of it. And you will see that they're talking about us based on swagger alone.
That's fact. That's big facts.
That's a fact, because we're able to alchemize our afflictions, and that's where we get our spiritual power from. You know, best time when you tap into the apex of your energy is when you're going through some rough shit in your life. Your car just got towed, you just lost your job, your wife cheating on you. So you notice during that time period, that's a lot of times when people tap into their spiritual awakening. So the same thing takes place when you're talking about the Hulk. You just alchemize the energy. You know what I'm saying? Even though he got exposed to gamma radiation, but like I said, it was the emotional energy that gave him the catalyst to tap into that power. And gamma radiation, that's the God frequency. It all corresponds with Osiris, resurrection, right? So when you go,
and that's who the Hawk character is,
and that's why he's green.
That's a fact.
Yes, sir.
But you gotta also remember when we see Osiris green, his name means Lord of the Perfect Black.
Yes, sir. They sure do.
Yes, or sir. Lord of the Perfect Kim. The word they translate as black is Kim.
Land of the Black.
Kim is the root word to chemistry. Chemical. Right? But he's also the form of Ptah, the fashioner of men. Right? Because they say God formed man. The God they refer to is the father, Osiris. Right? But Osiris can't hold no throne unless Isis seats him. Right? So when he's disrupted, she replaces him with him, only it's not him. You your daddy boy, but your mama raised you.
That part.
So you a mama's boy off your daddy line. Right? So the characters is translating frequency language. This the same with the X-Men. All of the X-Men are called mutants. What's the cause of mutation? Gamma radiation, UV radiation. Right? So all of them is affected by the solar rays, but they all got different abilities, and some of them even got the same abilities. Right? Two of them might have the same abilities, but one of them might have an ability the other one don't have.
Right.
You know, and out of all of them, the most normal one is Professor X, but he's a mutant too because he got super intelligence.
Yeah. That's dope. And you know what? And I'm telling you, I'd be having the downloads just listening. But as you're saying that, in my mind, what I'm seeing is like the way you're saying these mutants are when it comes to having different skills or different gifts or whatever, like automatically the first thing I think about is artists. So when you look at Ye, right? Ye is a mutant per se who has the gift of production, the gift of being a poet or being an artist, to be able to weave songs and production together, right? But then you look at another mutant, let's say Jamie Foxx, he got the ability to weave in producing, music, singing, acting, comedy, you know what I'm saying? So it's like now you're looking at a mutant with 5 different, you know what I'm saying, supernatural abilities. Whereas if you just have one of those and you know how to really work it, you're a problem. But then you have some that have multiple, you know what I mean? So how does that relate to us? Because I think it was, I don't know which one of y'all, but one of y'all posted something about the UV rays starting yesterday was going up to like 11, I think, on the scale, right? And if I'm not mistaken, some people that catch cancer at, I forgot what it was, right? The people who don't have melanin or neuromelanin. So when we're talking about how solar flares,
somebody you cutting in and out.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. So when we're talking about the solar flares and like all the energy that we're receiving from the sun, and we're seeing right now on June 5th, 6th, I think it's 7th, it's supposed to be like on 11 on what is the UV scale. How does that affect us in regards to us being able to transmute this energy from these solar flares that we're receiving, you know, right now, currently in real time right now?
Well, in order to unlock your scroll of all, you got to go through a fasting process. Fast from the food, fast from the alcohol, fast from the sex, and you transmutate that energy. because when these energies is coming in, you want to get rid of those parasites. Everything on the planet has a parasite, but you got to go through a process in increments where you got to go through a detoxing phase to receive these energies, because these neutrinos is coming in. This is what we call squaring a circle. Squaring a circle is when you have these neutrinos coming in and they're manipulating the subatomic particles that creates the liquid crystal polarization of everything in the simulation. So when these neutrinos is coming in, that is basically nature activating the matriarch, right? So that activates the X gene within us too, as well. So the X gene, like I said, it's one of those things. It's not a coincidence they call it the X-Men, because the X gene activation in itself is where you tap into the apex of your spiritual energies. So this is why I said I didn't read this in a book or whatever. This is just from my own independent research. I think in the beginning of time, women had 3 X chromosomes, right? And the reason I say that, they could have used it, in adult films or whatever. They could have used why. Why did you use XXX? And the reason I say that is because I think that X chromosome was the activation of the parthenogenesis, which gave them that spiritual capability to create man in the form of genetic mutation with the 2.8% of her chromosomes to create man. So that's why when you look at the man's chromosomes, as far as the X and the Y is really a broken X because he came from the woman. So that means, the woman in itself has the ability to tap into her orgone energy to where she's able to control the weather like Storm on X-Men. So the activation of these neutrinos and everything that's coming in is just really just activating the ones that's connected to the planet, basically. So the sun is our spiritual power.
Yeah, that's powerful, because I mean, literally in real time, since I've interviewed both of y'all, I promise it, to me personally, it seemed like everything that we've talked about is heightened like a tenfold. And I'm not bullshitting. Like, I'm talking about from the volcanoes to, like, the earthquakes to it, like, it's crazy, like how fast things are moving. The craft sightings, we saw the red orb, I think that was in Florida, and then there was somewhere else too. So where do all these different anomalies come into play in regards to when we're seeing like the extraterrestrial activity in alignment with, or I should say the increase of it, in alignment with the increase of all these supernatural phenomena from the planet herself?
Well, first of all, it's just codes for us to read. It's all energy, right? If you're not there where it's affecting you first person perspective, then you have to read it as an energy because you're not there to directly observe it. It's in its waveform in relationship to where your particles have collapsed. So when you're reading it in its waveform, you read the energy frequency. This is why they got all of these meters to test the frequency, the temperature, the wavelength, the bandwidth. All of those machines is helping them to read nature, right? Well, we didn't use machines in the past. We was able to read nature by living in nature. But because they put what's called artificial constructs within nature, we call them cities now, concrete jungles. All they is giant computer switchboard designs to harvest human energy as we go about our day-to-day life. So we really using especially the ghettos where the most of us congregate. The military regimented squared off cities is designed to harvest energy through tall buildings with those lightning rods on top, or what it looked like is 2 staffs on the top. Those in turn allow them to feed energy back to us to disrupt our normal behavior so that it's harder for us to stay on track, which means we exert more energy to stay focused, right? And as we exert more energy, it starts to formulate an auric field over a city. This auric field is what they tap into in order to harvest the energy on a 4th dimensional basis. But they use 3D equipment to do it. The buildings, the layout of the street, the sewer drains under it, how they make the water flow beneath your feet. It's all designed that your movement, because you got to remember, you got an auric field of your own, but when you caught up in the city, your auric field becomes merged with all in the city. If you don't know psychic self-defense, you become subject to the will of the collective.
That's powerful.
But the one that learns how to turn his auric field into a localized structure to contain his energy, he looked like a meteor shooting through the sky to the people.
Yep.
And you're always gonna have a tailwind behind him.
Yes, sir. Listen, and when you're saying that, I'm having another vision. So now that to me will kind of equate to, well, let me get your perspective on it. When we talk about how this boom and how it's almost like you have to be connected to technology, right? Whether it's cell phone, TV, tablet, whatever. To me, that's to kind of put that blockage in between the mind and the spirit connecting with the divine. But then even when you go back to like the inception of shoes with the soles on shoes, right? Is that not to do the same thing to connect us from physically connecting to the divine when we're talking about the divine alignment and the energy of the Mother Earth herself? Is that not the same thing, like, from the physical aspect and the mental spiritual aspect in regards to this infrastructure that we have that's set up for that?
Yeah, because you're forgetting, a lot of people don't understand that you have a synthetic people running a synthetic system. So with those off the proprioception network system in the brain. So that means that it's connected to your biological clock, which is connected to the circadian rhythm of planet Earth. So everything in the system is basically artificial. It caters to the destruction of the physical temple of what we call the Christ body. Because like I said, when it's working in harmony with nature, that's when you're able to tap into the quarks and the leptons, and you're able to, activate that guard particle, basically. That's what they talk about, the Higgs boson or whatever. That's when you're able to manipulate the space-time continuum and manipulate, the simulation in itself. So, like I said, it's one of those things that creates light code lockdown. Light code lockdown is one of those things where, like I said, artificial systems in itself has a parasite tether connection to the moon. And that moon is tether connected to the Van Allen belt. So everything they do is being used to lock down your DNA to where you're not able to resurrect in the form of Christ consciousness. That's what the simulation is all about, is really sucking up microscopic waves of energy from our physiology. Because you have not just neurons in the brain, you have neurons all over your body. So that's why I was saying, like, as far as like artificial intelligence, it's being used as a psychotronic weapon to where they're able to upload our consciousness and put it inside of a neuromorphic cyber cloud. So that's why I'm saying is everything is being used to, extract our genetics. You know what I'm saying? Because it comes with a certain frequency to
it. Yeah. Now you mentioned parasites, right? Mm-hmm. But it's something else that's not a parasite called a symbiote. Mm. The difference between symbiosis and parasitism is the symbiote needs to keep the host alive in order for it to live. Mm-hmm. The parasite feeds on the host to its own demise until the host is totally depleted. Ooh. Right? So when we're looking at the differences in the two, when you're in a family dynamic, you are in a symbiotic relationship. All of the parts working together is stronger than any one of the parts working individually. It's the narrative that Malcolm gave of the hand. Right? It's different from slapping somebody and punching them in their snot box. The force that comes with it is different. Though you might slap slob out his mouth with your open hand, you'll knock blood out his nose with the same power. Mm-hmm. Right? So when we work together in the family unit, the symbiosis interrupts the parasitism. Because the symbiote has the ability to recognize the parasite that the original host can't recognize. Mm-hmm. Right? Now, a good training seminar for that is Star Trek SG-1 and the story of the Goa'uld. Mm-hmm. The Goa'uld have psychic powers, but they can't kill a host lest they die or they find a new host. Right? And then they tell you the life cycle of the symbiote. Right? And the symbiote can keep a host alive without him aging for hundreds of years, longer than he would normally live. That means the symbiote's lifespan is longer than the host lifespan, But with the symbiote is allowing the host to live longer because of the chemical exchange in the two. This is how, when you find the right woman, she make you look young into your 90s. You don't never stop smiling. Right?
I was gonna go there. I didn't want to interrupt.
You in that field, right? Down in that field, as long as she's not chaotic, she creates the perfect swing faith. And it feels like you living in heaven on earth without ever leaving your body.
I say. Yeah.
Symbiosis. Shout out to Calvin DeFries, aka Joseph Senku of Symbionese Liberation Army, for sending me down that rabbit hole that I didn't want to go.
As soon as you started saying that, I automatically was thinking the feminine energy versus the masculine energy, because you know what I'm saying. Like when you were sharing this, the difference between the two, the comparative analysis. That's the first thing that popped in my head. Like that was dope. Yeah, that's we're just getting started, family. We ain't all the way warmed up yet. Oh man. Okay, so when we're talking about where we are now, because there's been a lot of development, what can we expect, like in regards between now June 6, 2025, into like this thing that we're expecting, the big thing in September? Like what because I already see a lot happening now, so I'm like, damn, I'm wondering, like, okay, if that's when the big thing finna happen, then what do we expect to see, you know, between now and then?
Well, you gotta remember, it's a big acceleration going on. So even though it looked like a lot going on now, they still, all of this stuff, the old system has to be publicly brought to an end. Now, it might not look like somebody come out saying, yeah, God told me to tell y'all the system came to an end and we go into the Aquarian age. It don't work like that.
Right.
Because the old age first got to get purged from our system. So we got to go through all of these things in the final phase. I call it shock and awe, where they do a mass information dump to show you how dumb you really was and how bad they was playing us out of pocket. But then it's going to give you respect and recognition for the ones that been telling you the whole time, don't feed into the bullshit.
Yeah, everybody owe these, everybody, you know, consider the conspiracy theorists, they owe everybody an apology.
Yeah. Because it looked like, we were talking about this earlier, like we're looking at the quote unquote so-called government or whoever these clowns are. We're looking at that like a real life reality show, because that's what it really is, a shit show. And we're watching it in real time. And it's like TV numbers are down, everything is down, because people are tuning into real information. And that's what we're giving, you know what I'm saying, to the people. And it's like, and we all know it because we all see it.
You want to see something? Can you pull up Google on this screen?
Let me see. This thing is let me give it a shot real quick. What you need me to pull up? I can go ahead and look it up.
A map with DC pinned and Hollywood pinned.
DC pinned? Okay. Let me see if I can pull up real quick. All right. Let's see.
They got us between theatrical performances of Hollywood and political satire in DC. When you realize that they are the reverse side of the same on each side of the land, that's not an accident. They got us between two pillars.
Yeah, I gotta figure this this platform out with the sharing, because it is a pain in the balls. But I'll see if I can look it up. I'll switch browsers, so I'm gonna come off screen. I'm gonna switch browsers and see if I can pull that and bring it back. So I'll let y'all go ahead.
Okay.
I'll let y'all chop it up. So with that, well, shit, y'all got it in regards to that, and I'm gonna jump off real quick and go check that out.
Okay. So as far as you were saying, like regards to the system, you know, being, you know, at the apex of it, you know, the end or whatever. I know you see that video of the lady. She was in 2027. She said something was going to happen. She was at the Denver airport. You see that video?
I didn't see it. What was she talking about?
Yeah, she was basically talking about how something big is coming and how, you know, it's going to, you know, manipulate, you know, as far as like the socio-political aspect of everything, and it's going to manipulate economics and it's whatever. You know, it's one of those things, like I said, because, you know, Denver is also one of those places where they have that those underground bunker systems and everything, those deep underground military bunker systems. So, you know, everything really translates to everything as far as like the movies or whatever. And there's a lot of movies that actually correspond, you know, with the timeline that we own, like the movie Arrival, the movie, I think it's called Paradise on Hulu. And because it basically denotes the fact that we're going through a simulation. And if you've noticed in the movie Paradise, the simulation didn't really take place as far as like a cybernetic dystopia. It didn't take place until after the calamity. They had the reset. Then that's when they had the artificial world. Is what we call the synthetic golden age, where it's over the Golden Dome. They literally put that in the movie.
But also the movie Jupiter Ascending tell you that the heir is a woman. And not only do it tell you that the heir is a woman, it tell you that her brother wanted to steal her stuff from her.
Yeah,
and their mama came out and corrected him and told him he can't take her inheritance.
So you're talking about the spiritual cutoff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even though they used the pale-faced characters, what's the storyline?
That part.
Right? Jupiter is ascending. They only reason they woke her up from her slumber as a human was because it was her turn to ascend to the throne over her inheritance. Right? And so they telling you that the matriarch is being woke up to reclaim their birthright to the earth.
Yeah.
That part. Mamageddon.
Right. So that's why they made sure that in the movie it's actually a female that is the heir to the earth, not a male. Right. But the male got the responsibility to make sure that Big Mama get her stuff back, because we all mama's boys in the end, because every one of us got a mama.
That part. That's facts. And you know what? They put a lot in the movies too. Because think about Avatar. Avatar, like that, they put so much in Avatar to like really share exactly like what's going on when you talk about Haiti with the iridium. You know what I'm saying? Like us connecting with the tree, like all that stuff. And then I don't know if y'all seen this movie that just dropped with I think it was Violetta Heiress, the sister that played Woman King, but she got a new movie out called G20, right? And I watched that the other day. And if you look at it, they have her as the president. And then they have another dude who's supposed to be the bad guy, quote unquote, who's like a hacker. But what happens is, I don't want to ruin the movie, but long story short, I'm like, they showing in real time the return of the matriarch. They showing the black woman in the position of power as, you know what I'm saying, the chief of, you know what I'm saying, the quote unquote corporation, you know, United States or whatever. But then they also show in the movie how that hacker dude, to me, I'm like, yo, in real life, this dude is the good guy, because he's the one who's actually corrupt, like shutting down the corrupt system. Like their whole ploy was to infiltrate the entire world leaders' governments and like take over and hold them hostage and then shut down and collapse the whole entire infrastructure of the system. So what they're doing is they're showing you the truth of what's happening, but they're flipping the script on who they're showing you as the good guy, bad guy, because now they take the black woman and put her in quote unquote the stereotypical, what we're used to, role of the bad guy, which is the American, you know, government or what have you. But then they put the hacker, who I look at as the good guy, in the bad guy's role, you know what I'm saying? But he's really, to me, he's like the killmonger of this shit. Like he's shutting it down, you know what I mean? So it's like, we really can pay attention to like what we're seeing, and we look at it from the mind's eye, you can decipher a lot of things that they're showing us in real time. And that's a brand new movie too.
But one question is this that you could consider when you've been analyzing that movie. What if nobody didn't know all the time that the hacker was working for the president?
Yeah. Then you got your Judas betrayal story.
No. You got your son redeeming the mama story. He's collapsing the system in order to give her back the power.
Now check this out. Please tell. I don't know if y'all seen it, but there's a series on Netflix called King of the Boys, and it's a movie. It comes out of like Nollywood, but I love that movie because the main character, her name is Enola Salami, but she a problem. Like she's like the female version of Scarface, right? But she really is the real deal. So they call her the king. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to see it, but it's called the King of the Boys. And then on top of that, everything that I just broke down from that little movie that I just saw, like they break that down from a whole series level. It's a dope series, like real dope.
He brought up
they were called kings in the ancient times, wasn't they?
Look, he brought up the woman king in wrestling, the women's champ. Well, she ain't the champ right now because she been off, but she came back. They call her the man, Becky Lynch. And she got it from Ric Flair, the GOAT, the greatest of all time. When he used to say to be the man, you got to beat the man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she said she the man now, so to be the man, you got to beat the man. But she's talking to all the women. Had Shetson wore a beard. Mexican got on boots and Big Mama got on man shoes. It's time to climb.
Yeah, well, y'all do too. Yes, sir. And I saw that thunder and lightning in the sky last night. Like they not playing, like for real, for real. I saw it. It was nuts. I mean, I'm talking about big boats too. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if there was crafts for real, but it was dope. And speaking of crafts, like there's been a lot of activity with crafts. Have y'all seen any activity that kind of stood out in regards to what has been being out there and exposed in regards like real time activity with crafts?
Well, there was an aircraft over Mount Etna before it erupted because volcanoes, they contain a sustenance. They're able to feed off the kinetic energy because, as UFOs or shams or spaceships, chariots of the Bible, whatever you want to call them, they don't run off, electrical energy. You know what I'm saying? That there's no gas or nothing like that. It runs off straight kinetic energy. So that's why I said, like, as far as like the ancestors, they used to put some of them in the tombs, they put some of them in the mountains, and they extract that energy. It's a form of ether. Ether is a sustenance that has a looping system as well. It's an energy exchange. That's why I was saying, like, as far as the atmosphere is going back into fourth octave ether, the atmosphere is changing. So the more you see the atmosphere start to change with these neutrinos and these solar flares, the Schumann resonance is spiking up, they're going to have full disclosure because you're not going to be able to captivate the illusion no more because the illusion in itself is dismantling itself. And it's all being manipulated by the weather. So and also, like I said, you got these shams coming in. They put in these frequency, modification in the atmosphere, and it's manipulating everything in physical density as well. So these shams is also causing a great majority of the awakening process.
Yes, sir. And what's nuts is, man, I promise, like, it's so divine to see it because one of the lives I did, I think it was like a Saturday. I think I had told you about that, Bdell. Like, it was like on a Saturday. Me and Wunam did a live about extraterrestrials. And then the very next day, I saw the video of the picture that I shared on the live, like the next day, which I had never seen that video. I didn't even know they had video of the photographer who captured it because I saw the initial picture in a book from Dr. York. And all I knew was just the picture. But then I saw the video of it arrive on the internet the very next day after we was just talking about it. I'm like, yeah, this is nuts. On top of, I've seen my own personal experiences with crafts. And I think one of y'all shared something about, I think that was you, Bdell, about the craft that was just seen recently. I think this week, they didn't really show the craft, but it was like a huge, almost like mushroom cloud where you could tell it was like a craft was cloaking itself inside of the craft. Inside of the cloud. So I know that's a thing that is real because I've seen that in my own life before in real time. So when it comes to the heightened activity, and I know they have the ability to come in and out of our frequency and in and out of our vision and line of sight, all that, and they can kind of do it simultaneously, whether they just kind of take off or they just like dissolve, out of our appearance, in real time. When it comes to all that, because I also know with the nukes, if they try to launch nukes or play with nukes or whatever, it automatically gets shut down. Like crafts around, it's shut down. So I feel like the whole system is pretty much done. right? And I've seen enough that I feel like I know it's done, but what is it going to take for us to see, like, when it completely, we just kind of see a flattening of what this old system was, and then the establishment of the sheer unapologetic, like, this is what it is, bitch, we here now. You know what I'm saying? When the ancestors and, you know, the deities, whoever's coming to set the record straight for the return of the mother, how can we see a timeline, or what can we expect in regards to, like, knowing, like, okay, yep, it just happened. That's it. It's a wrap.
We already seeing it. See, this is the thing about change. Sometimes you don't see change until it's done changing.
Right.
We don't know what the caterpillar looked like in the cocoon before it come out as a butterfly.
Right.
We don't know he turned into a whole pile of goop in there and rearranged his molecules to form the butterfly. Right? Unless you're a butterfly scientist, you'll never know that he turned into some mushy paste in the cocoon before he go from caterpillar to butterfly. It seemed like he would just go in there and grow some wings. But even the body of the caterpillar is different from the body of the butterfly. So he had to disassemble his whole genetic structure and reassemble it according to the design of the butterfly. Right? Change doesn't show itself until it's done changing. But we watching it, but because we so conditioned to the old system, we can't see it. It's in our face, behind our back.
Oh man, yeah. And you know, it reminds me of the snake too. Not so much in the transformative aspect of the butterfly, but if you think about the snake, it goes through a lot of changes. You know what I'm saying? It got to shed its skin to grow. And then when it's time to eat, what does it do? It you know what I'm saying? It disconnects its jaw in order to, you know, expand it to take over whatever its prey is, and then it kind of pulls it back into play. So is that not what we can do as a people? When we talk about us, when it comes to like astral traveling or accessing the Merkaba, or, you know what I'm saying, like elevating through the seven chakras of the Kundalini, like, does that all that kind of tie into like who and what we are too as physical or spiritual beings having a physical experience?
Yes, Ophiuchus, that's us. That's the serpent bearer. That's Jesus walking on water. That's us. So like I said, those neutrinos in itself is what's resurrecting the Christ body, the true temple. You don't need no damn church. The church is already in you. Like I said, you just got to unlock that scroll of all. It has to go through an unraveling process. You got to unlock that DNA sequence. Like I was talking about the 144 Kenic cells that's connected to the thymus gland. So in order to tap into that frequency, you got to be energetically balanced with the mind and the heart. But, you know, specifically the heart, because, you know, it's 100,000 times more, you know, magnetic than the brain. So it's one of those things where your apex of your spiritual power is going to come from your heart. So like I said, if you're energetically out of balance and your nervous system is out of balance, it's going to be one of those things like Rod been telling you. Your mitochondrial DNA is going to be shut off because you're not harmonizing with nature. And nature is going back into a restoration process of balance. So by way of the neurological functions and your and by way of, you know, what they call it, anything that as far as like the heart and the mind, it just really has to be balanced because the planet is going back into balance. Balance is the thing that's going to connect you right back to God, because God is equilibrium. So like I said, use your emotions as a navigation system. Make your emotions in balance with the logic. That's the only way you're going to get to the next level.
Yeah, that's facts. Got to raise them frequencies, family. So I got this is a good question from the tribe. Do one of y'all want to jump on this one? They want to know, brother Maurice Kufi. Shout out to brother Maurice. The prophecy of the seven thunders, and like how do those relate to what we're seeing now in regards to the prophecies of the seven thunders?
Well, the seven thunders, they talk about that as acclimated to the seven calamities, and they said that's according to the Hopi prophecy. When you have four great people shall perish before these afflictions on the planet is going to be taking place. I mean, you had the Queen, you had the Pope, and then you had Pope Francis, then you had Pope Benedict, and then was somebody else that passed away. I think it was a Rothschild or whatever. But
yeah,
Queen,
Jacob.
Jacob Rothschild. So we at the apex of that energy. So it's not a coincidence during that time period on December 31st when the Pope took the keys of papacy and he unlocked the Galactic Center. That was an encryption over the planet. That was a blockage. Because that blockage in itself was tether connected to the Van Allen belt. So now we're going through a resurrection process. That's why they got a damn American Pope now. So everything is going back into its original balance because the system is falling. The church is falling, the economic system falling. So that's why I said that we shall inherit the earth. So this is why you, like I said, everything has to go through that restoration. It's the fall of false kings. It's really a chess game. It's a chess game.
Yeah. Yeah. And the word for meat is just feminine. I mean feminine.
So when we seeing, okay, so now how does the Pope thing, because we spoke, I think I spoke to both of y'all and we've talked about the Black Pope and all that. Brother Bdell, you got a whole damn master's class on your channel with the Black Nobility video that you did. So when it comes to that, and I knew all this was going on, was about to happen, the American Pope, and then we know that Trump is a double agent, right? Because he's also in bed with the people in Israel, if I'm not mistaken, right? So how does,
he on that list.
So how does that all tie into, you know what I'm saying, like the fall of the old one, because we know how, how does that all kind of play into now?
Now, you don't remember back in his first presidency, he said, I'm going to save Israel for last. Right? Just because they trying to do business as usual with him, all they doing is trapping themselves. He ain't working for them people. They don't know that though.
Which people?
The Mossad. That's who run Israel.
You said who
the
run
Mossad
Israel?
The Mossad.
Yeah.
So look, the Mossad is a hybrid KGB, CIA, and MI5, MI6. They all got together and had a baby called Mossad. The Mossad is the intelligence agency. It's just like over here, we thought that the people in DC was running the country. None of them senators ever wrote a bill. They all sponsor it. Who the hell writing the bills that they sponsoring? Most of us don't know that the senators only supposed to meet for 6 weeks out the year at the beginning of the year to discuss new business, but they didn't turn it into a full-time job so that they could fleece the people. They only supposed to come together to solve problems in the community, but they coming together to cause them instead. That's why they keep creating all these laws, making everything illegal. So they can put some kind of monetization to it and license it out to people, because remember, they got to make it illegal before they can give you a license, because a license is just permission to do something illegal. All crime is commercial, right? They operating under the color of law, the colorable law, using the uniform commercial system. So they dress in their uniforms for the appearance of legitimacy. All the time, they Machiavellian frauds. It was a good concept and it worked real well until somebody grew up that recognized the people on the land being displaced and said, who doing it? And then you dig behind the scenes and you pull the dirty players out, and now don't nobody believe it because it's so phenomenally basic.
Yeah.
They was looking for a whole bunch of other things to be the contributing factor because of the narratives we've been fed. Everything they taught us was to maintain divide and conquer as crowd control. Right? That's why they want all of you haters to sit on this side and all you players to sit on that side. So now we know who to sick on each other. Democrats on this side, Republicans on that side. Catholics on this side, Christians on that side. Muslims on this side, Hebrews on that side. Now, sick them, everybody. Get the people you don't like that we told you not to like so we can control all of you motherfuckers. The same. Everybody's still thinking that Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves with the Emancipation Proclamation. That's not what that means. It don't got nothing to do with freeing nobody from nothing. And emancipation is to transfer ownership from one party to another. We don't know the language, so we think we know what they're talking about. Right? Because we thinking in terms of an emancipated minor. Right? Emancipated minor just moved from a child's capacity to an adult capacity. The Emancipation Proclamation was the public declaration that we're going to take the minority out of slavery so we can put you all in it. The right to own slaves was reserved by the government, not the people. If you put somebody in slavery, they're going to charge you with a crime. But when they do it, it's okay because they licensed to do it because they got the article, the 14th Amendment, to tell them that once they duly convict you of a felony, that they can make you be forced into involuntary servitude. Then they hyper create crime by minimizing the financial outreach that the people was allowed to control within the confines of their groupings. Right? All the red line is the dotted line that they gonna cut you on. So they use eminent domain under their rights to salvage, using squatter rights to occupy. Because if you can't occupy it, you can't control it. So they get a representatives called nationals and citizen occupational rights to squat certain places. Because occupation is following the 9/10 rule of possession. Possession being 9/10 of the law. That 1/10 is the only liberating factor. When the rightful owner returned, you got to surrender it. So they been running these games on us with they divide and conquer among race, religion, sex, gender, concepts, and ideologies, using propaganda warfare to make us fight each other. And that's the dumbest shit in the world to me. And we keep falling for it every day.
So, and you make a very, very powerful point. So let me ask you this, because, and either one of y'all can hit this one, but when it comes to a people establishing a sense of independence, so which in my mind equates freedom, when it comes to a people who are, to me, indigenous to this land, but it doesn't matter, but the people that create a form of independence on this land, what is it such a threat to where the occupational, I guess, security corporation soldiers for hire, i.e. the government's military, why is it that they always bomb or want to destroy any sort of small group of people who create a form of independence on this land, i.e. the movement in Philadelphia, Black Wall Street, et cetera, et cetera?
So we was at war. This is the first thing you got to remember. As long as we don't realize that we've been fighting the war for 500 years and that the war has evolved over time, we behind the curve. All that's warfare, right? They use that to keep us from rising up, organized. And they also use it to make us not trust our leadership, right? So when the natural leaders rise, they override the natural leader with a manufactured leader. The Rothschilds said that when they need a hero, we'll provide them for them.
Yep.
Right? They never expect that the tribal order was still working where we raise chiefs no matter what the environment is to go out and find a solution to the problems that affect the community. The only problem we got right now is patriarchy, because all of the stuff that's causing all of our problems is patriarchal driven, hyper masculine war energy. Right? What's the counter to that? Bring back the divine feminine, that ocean Sweetwater energy. Turn your life war story into a love story and you live happily ever after. Just do it in the name of love.
Could you go back over that question one more time? What was the other part of the question?
Shoot. Well, the main thing was pretty much why is it that these race soldiers or whatever you want to call these people who work for the corporation known as a U.S. or America, right? Why is it that they feel so threatened when a group of melanated people create a form of independence? So like with the movement in Philadelphia, how they bombed them, you know what I'm saying? They was minding their business, not bothering nobody, the Black Panther Party, you know what I'm saying? Or if you go to Black Wall Street, like why is it when a group of melanated people create a source or a movement of independence that they seem to be attacked militarily on this land?
Well, self-preservation is the precursor to autonomy. And when you have autonomy, that eliminates the jurisdiction that they have over you. So that's why they got to create a have and a have-nots in a dualistic paradox. They got to create a certain demographic of people to be at the bottom of the economic chain to where they're able to compensate for the lack thereof to where they're consumers. So this is all connected to the patriarchal systems of capitalism, because the more that you got people divided, you can control them with their corporate systems. To where now, hey, the Black woman making $100,000 a year, and the Black man only making 50, and she ain't finna fuck with you because you ain't making enough money. So, like I said, the capitalistic system of patriarchy is what's causing the divide. So, like I said, you know, it's one of those things where they got to break us up and cater to their corporations in order for them to keep their systems going. Because if you eliminate the middleman, just like they did with Tory Lanez, anytime you cut out the middleman, they're going to come attack you. That means that you don't need them. Tory Lanez don't need the industry. Nipsey Hussle didn't need the industry. Young Dolph didn't need the industry. All these people were independent. Anytime that you're independent on anything, they're going to attack your enterprise.
Yeah. Now,
but look, there's something that you can be independent and still be a slave.
Oh, yeah.
Still not be free.
Yeah.
But you can't be sovereign and autonomous and be anybody's subject.
Right.
Now, the first thing about independence is that means separate from the family. You a single cell. A single cell is easier to crush than the whole organism.
That's facts.
Right? So when you understand they use certain words to undermine our efforts, like revolution. I don't want to go in no goddamn circle. I don't advocate no revolution. I advocate insurrection, uprisings, rebellions.
Yes, sir.
Guerrilla warfare.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Nat Turner, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, real warriors. Yeah. Hannibal Barker. Dirty Bookman. Let's call them out now. We're gonna call them. Let's call the big guns, man. We ain't gonna just call. Hey, I'm calling the big ones. Yes, sir.
Shaka Zulu, Stephen Biko.
Yeah.
The Mau.
Yeah. Ogunye, Shango, them. We calling all them energies, man, for real. Yeah, nah, this is dope. So, one of the things I wanted to get into too. So when we talk about all, especially with ties to the corporation, how does like the Social Security number play a role into this system? Like, because if I look at a Social Security number, to me in my mind, that's no different than if I have like any type of barcode or any type of product number on, any product, right? So what is the Social Security number? How does that tie into
the corporation? Well, you got the titles is connected to the QSIP numbers. The QSIP number is the Community Uniform Security Identification Procedure. So that identification procedure is acclimated to titles. These are titles that's connected to the corporation. So they're making money off your life. They're making money off your marriage. They're making money off your death. And it's because of the QSIP number. Because those QSIP numbers that's connected to your Social Security number, these are all bank accounts, right? You got millions of dollars in it. So I said, like, the corporation in itself, it has to fall because it was all built on fraud. Anything that's built on fraud and everything that's built on a synthetic system only has a temporal power.
Yeah, that's facts. It's because it's not real. It wasn't created through authenticity, through the real creation, process. And I think you look at even like in real time, BBLs, you know what I mean? Like, to me, that's like a sign of the ties with the system. Like, it's all about manufacturer, you know what I'm saying? Like fake-ish, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, but the real stuff, which is us, we've been kind of like dealing with being the imposters within the imposters, you know what I mean? Because a lot of people don't know that behind like enemy lines of the veil, that it was people who looked like us that was really pulling the strings on a lot of this bullshit that we're looking at. When you talk about this whole entire
a lot of it, the buck stops at the feet of the dark black nobility. This
Right.
where the hidden ones, the unknown ones, right? They don't want to be known. They are moon priests. They want to remain anonymous. That's all go back to the priest wars. All of this stuff is significant because as long as they can keep us socially, economically deprived and denied the right to live off the fat of the land, they can supply our needs. The easiest way to control people is to control their necessities, not their desires and their wants, their needs. Right? Like we need soap. We used to make it. Now we rely on the store to produce it and have it on the shelf. Right? We used to go and have our own garden, but now because of convenience and it allows us to work in the system's factory outlets, that's the modern day plantations, and get the credits so we can go back and spend our monopoly money on manufactured goods that's been saturated with toxins in order to make us die, so we ain't never live old enough to get our full Social Security benefit, so that the Ponzi scheme can keep running to deteriorate the wealth of the people, and they be living off that wealth. You asked about the card, the Social Security card. Look at the name of the card. What are they securing? A social structure. So you got a card that's allowing you to build this house of cards called the social construct. Right? They use sociology as a means of controlling all of the areas of people activity. But you got to think like a god in order to rise your thinking above the subjugation of the system. But you can't think like a god when you worried about when your baby next meal gonna come. You got to get out and get it. Right? When you worried about if your mama lights go out, will her ventilator cut off? So you got to figure out how to make sure she's secure. You don't got time to be trying to figure out how do I reach my God mind from here? Right? You don't have that. They keep you preoccupied with nonsense. And your Social Security is just collecting the revenue that you generate. They know how much money your labor produces based off BTUs, calorie burns per hour. If you do this job, we think that it's going to burn this many calories an hour, and at this much a calorie, this is how much that hourly wage should be. But when they attach a double release valve on it, you got on one side, you got inflation that's reducing the purchasing power. On the other side, you got taxation that's reducing the take-home pay. So you being doubly reduced on your principal, your labor. But constitutionally, you ain't supposed to tax the income at its source. So how is you taxing me on my labor when that's the source of my income? Right? Property taxes, that's belligerent to the tribes. As long as you can do the upkeep on the property, you supposed to be able to live there. And then you got competent heirs that desire to keep the upkeep, you can keep it for generations. But when you let it go to blight, you either gonna give it back to the forest or somebody gonna come along and cultivate the territory. Right? That's the way it was before they came. You didn't have nothing called homelessness. Everybody had a home. Right? It don't matter who you is, you find yourself out in the street, you look over at your man, I don't got nowhere to go, man. I'm going to Big Mama house. Where you going? I'm going to my nana house. Nobody was homeless. Wasn't nobody sleeping in cars and on the curb and behind liquor stores. Even though most of them, the pauper guys that refuse to take part in the illusion. So they'd rather take on all of the suffering required to ventilate the society from the bottom.
That's deep. Now, how does that kind of tie into? Because I know we've all experienced it when you see, like, anytime you see a small group or gathering of melanated people, it could be as small as 3 or 10 or 13 or 23 or 33. Then somehow, some way, you either get a Karen, you know what I'm saying, running up on them, or you got, you know what I mean, community patrol, or you know what I'm saying, or you got, for real though, you know what I'm saying, it's always got to be somebody that has some sort of concern when a small group of melanated people gather. How does that tie into
That's
what we're
social
talking about?
conditioning, going back to the sociology.
Mhm.
The social conditioning. Karen wouldn't have gave a damn about a flock of brothers being together if the news media didn't say that a flock of brothers being together is criminal activity.
Mm,
It's a threat. All Karen is that hen on the yard that keep all the other hens alert of the shit that's coming. She don't know what she doing,
Mhm.
right? She thinks she actually doing something that's good,
mm,
right? But she don't know that she gonna FAFO,
mm.
right? Because she ain't scared to let the clan know somebody is at the door. Just a little yapper, a little ankle biter. She ain't really that dangerous. She just annoying,
Mhm.
like a gnat or a mosquito.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody be mad at Karen. Don't be mad at Karen. Karen been conditioned by the system. Be mad at the system for conditioning Karen.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's who you be mad at. The angry black woman. Don't be mad at her for being angry. She want her shit back.
Mm.
Be mad at the people that took her shit that frustrated her to the point of rage.
I know that's right.
Mhm.
That's who you be mad at. If you properly put the anger in its proper place, it make life so much easier. It's just more fluent when you flow.
Mm.
And a lot of
Yeah.
them be NPCs, though. They're energetically connected to the fact that they have to disrupt any type of amalgamation amongst, so-called black people. Because when we get together, that's when we're able to start building
Yes.
sustainable, communities,
Mhm.
bringing different ideologies together. Because
Yep.
just that in itself, and just that perspective in itself, it has the ability to manipulate their reality. So
Yeah.
we just don't
What
see that.
And that goes really, really deep too, because you could speak to this, brother Bdell, in regards to when we talk about how divisive and is strategically, a strategy for them to divide and conquer the black, infrastructure of the black home, the black family. So when we talk about a lot of the trauma, a lot of it's because a lot of us didn't grow up in a 2-parent home like you did. So that's a blessing because it starts within the home in order to have, a strong foundation that we lead out into the community, then from the community to the culture. So why is it such a strategic target on making sure that we have the destruction of the black family? When I see on the internet, I hear all the hoopla and rah-rah about black males versus black females, you know what I'm saying, all this bullshit, even though I know it's propaganda. Why is it such a necessary ploy or tactic for those people or parasites to make sure that they have some sort of cease and desist of black families, being together?
Well, when you
Strong
destroy the
families,
go ahead, Elder.
strong families to create strong communities,
Mhm.
Mm,
right? And the stronger the community is, the less the government shenanigans can blow by.
mm,
So you weaken the family, so they so busy worrying about the family rift that they can't worry about the government takeover. It's just
mm,
just a 3-card money trick.
Mhm.
mm,
Slightly distract you just long enough for them to slide the other card
mm,
in your face while you watching them.
mm,
Right? You ever see a dude playing 3-card money and he won't shut the fuck up?
Mhm.
Because he's fast talking you. He's keeping your mind off the flip of the card. So no matter what card he flipped, you won't get the right one because you didn't see it when he switched the card.
mm,
Mhm.
In your face, behind your back.
mm,
Go ahead, Bdell.
But yeah, the reason they destroy the nucleus of the black family is because you're going to create balanced individuals. That's what
mm,
Isis Rael is, being able to balance and connect with source. So this is why a lot of people, when they come from broken backgrounds or whatever, that leads them to be, mentally fractured and spiritually broken. And
mm,
a lot of times that's connected to a form of trauma. So, you know, a great majority of us, you know, a great majority of the master teachers in the past, they came from trauma. But, you know, a lot of times, like I said, when you already create individuals in a balanced home, that's going to lend it a likelihood to where you cannot, you know, create psychological inducement that is connected to their system. You cannot indoctrinate those people. It's going to be very hard to. So when you do that in the form of separatism, you can easily control people. So they don't want balanced individuals because, you know, you get people like me, you get people, you know what I'm saying? Like they don't want that. They don't want balanced individuals because, like I said, it's one of those things where the system in itself placates to your emotions. And your emotions is going to deceive you every time. A motherfucker will tell you that the sky's red if the color blue hurts their feelings because they're not operating in logic. That means that your emotions has to be in balance with the logic, and that comes from the household. And you can that can be cultivated by the mother and the father because the man is the law and the woman's the order, and the woman gets the order through the man. You know what I'm saying? Because if you really look at, you know, in ancient, you know, matriarchal civilizations during that time period, you know, it's not about the woman being above the man. You know, the woman is the one that's giving the orders, and the man is laying down the law. So they both work in tandem like a machine in a factory. She's the oil to the machine. Right?
It's balance. I mean, even when we talk about spirituality, like the concept of Ifa, you know, the Babalawo cannot translate a message without the Odu, which is the feminine aspect of the communication process. So in those two lines of divination, you have the patriarchal or the masculine is, you know, controlling the actual process, but then the feminine is giving the message, is giving the information, the insight, which is just like when we talk about life, the feminine is creating, you know, bringing forth the creation of life. So it's like, that's a real thing. And I feel like that's where this thing like healing, where we got to do a lot of work with the healing, because now with this level of frequency, you know, elevating and the rise of consciousness and the solar flares coming in, that's really like taking the frequencies of everything to a much higher level. How important is it for us to do like the inner work, the shadow work, or whatever work is required for us to be able to kind of get our energy to where we can raise it to the vibration that is needed for us to kind of ascend to this fifth dimension, you know, ascension?
Well, like I said, anytime you don't heal, you're going to weaponize whatever energy that you're going to tap into. You're going to use it for malicious purposes. So it's kind of like the same thing as when a superhero gets his powers. You notice in the superhero movies, you got the villain. Every time he was able to galvanize a big, you know, an influx of power, he manipulated it and he used it for evil. So the same thing takes place as far as like, you know, spirituality. You're going to weaponize the spirituality if you're not healed. You're going to become a villain. You're going to become a villain to your people. This is the black nobility. People like that. You got people behind the curtains who have all this power, who's controlling the European on the surface to overthrow the ones that's indigenous to the land. So that's why I said, as far as like, you know, just healing in itself is, that's really, you know, is one of those things where, you know, people don't want to tap into self-realization because they fear their own shortcomings. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to look at it in the mirror because it becomes a reflection about what's going on with the afflictions that's, you know, taking place in their life. So it's like I said, you know, everything that you want in life is on the other side of fear. So once you're able to face the fear, that's when you're able to tap into your true godhood.
And now how does that relate to, what is it, like the Zohar body? What's the name of the two bodies that you mentioned?
Yeah, I call it, right now, like I said, since we're tether connected to the simulation and tether connected to the moon by our emotions, that is what I call the Gematria body. The Gematria body is controlled by the simulation. But when I'm talking about the Zohar body, that's just a different nomenclature title talking about Christ consciousness, your God self, your higher self, your oversoul.
I got you.
Yep.
That's what's up. So,
I'm gonna tell you this about that self work, that inner work. You're gonna do it one way or another.
I know that's right.
If you do it intentionally, it's no ways as hard as if you do it resisting. If you deliberately do it, you make it a lot easier and it goes by a lot quicker. But if you try to run from it, you got spiritual ass whipping coming along with you, still gonna get this work.
That's facts. I be trying to tell people that, boy, like for real, man. Like you gotta listen, boy, because we all getting them signs. I know I'm not the only one getting them messages. Y'all, we getting these messages, man. We gotta listen.
You see 555-333-222, and and you've been ignoring the message the whole time. Them signals, they've been telling you, hey, your woman cheating on you, bro. That's what the ancestors telling you. You know,
Yes, sir.
But you choose to ignore it because, like I said, your emotions is going to deceive you every time. That's why I said it has to be in balance with the logic, because that's where spiritual discernment takes place.
Yeah, your emotions is a navigation system.
Yeah.
But you gotta first calibrate your navigation system in order for you to properly be able to read your gauges. They call it pushing your own buttons.
Yes, sir.
The first thing you need to determine is if your emotion or response is in context or out of context with the event you face with. If it's out of context, that means there's something wrong with you somewhere that you need to work on.
Yes.
Right? If you're getting angry where you should be laughing, your humorous bone is off. You gotta go get your funny bone fixed. Right? So you go watch comedy. Balance that energy out. Right? But if you, let's say you think something funny when it's supposed to be sad. Right? You laughing at the funeral. Now everybody mad at you because they think you was making mockery of their loved one laying in that box. But you really, I wasn't laughing like that. I was going through my grief. Right? But the emotion was out of context because somewhere your grief got undermined. You wasn't allowed to grieve something as a child, then they gave you comedy in this place. Your goldfish died, you start crying, and your daddy tickled you until you stopped. You never grieved your goldfish. Now every time you go into the grief mode, it's time you can't help but laugh. You got the giggles now. Right? Unhealed trauma. So your emotions got to be in context with the event. And if it's in context, that means you write whatever the thought was that you built up to that emotion. Go back over what you was thinking right before you got that emotion. If it's the joy emotion, what was you thinking about before this experience brought joy to the forefront? I was thinking about living my best life. Okay, so you go in the right direction for living your best life because it gave you a joy response. Right? Fear response. What was I thinking about? Oh, I was going down that. Oh yeah, they got that big ass dog. I ain't going down that street. Emotional context. Once you calibrate your emotions to read you correctly, and you can read it correctly, it becomes a navigation system for the 3D realm to walk you around all of the problems.
Yes, sir.
It becomes a protector.
Yeah.
That
reminds me of the movie.
Emotions, when their emotions is erratic, and that's where you get that situation what Bdell was describing, because they haven't gained that control of the emotional body yet. So the emotions is dragging their ass around like a race car with no driver, and they just stuck in the passenger seat.
Listen, bruh, when you said that, I had a flashback to the now it's two moments, but the movie The Joker, the one with Joaquin Phoenix, the first one, not the one with the one that just came out, but man, there's a part where he was in the movie. He was in there, and the sister had her son was on the bus. They was on the bus, and like the son was looking back at him. He'll make funny faces. He was playing with the little boy, but the sister didn't like it because he looked kind of different. He looked off or whatever. So then the little boy started laughing because he thought it was funny. So the dude, he had a condition. The Joker had a condition to where he would laugh uncontrollably when he couldn't control his emotions, right? So the lady was ready to spaz on him because she thought, he was crazy. But it reminded me of like what you were just saying. But then it reminded me of the 607 interview too, because if you don't know how to control those emotions, they can take control, and then now it's emotion. So then now you're looking at it, what could be a real problem. So that's deep, like for real. That's real.
Yeah, deep. A lot of times, like I said, man, it really depends on certain people's backgrounds, because like I said, when you have a balanced energy, an unbalanced individual has their only defense mechanism is to attack. That's the only defense mechanism that they have. because you become a threat. It sends a neurological notification to the threat detection system in the brain, telling them like, "Oh, this person's attacking me," when they really not.
Right.
So it's all psychological and it's all acclimated to the trauma.
Yeah, that's deep. I saw somebody in the chat said Elon is a shapeshifter. He looked like an android. What y'all think, Elon?
Supposedly, there's three. There's three. There's supposedly.
I know one of them is an android.
I thought one of them looked like an android to me.
And he got a little dude that be in the chest of it with some sticks operating them.
No,
I ain't laughing. I'm dead serious.
I believe
but
it
is more than one of them too.
I wouldn't be. My theory was I thought maybe it was a black nobility entity controlling him with a skin mask meat suit on. That's what I was surprised by that.
I wouldn't be surprised by that either, though.
I wouldn't be surprised by that because I put out a video not long ago. They were showing the lady that was in the CIA and how they was wearing it in the Oval Office, and then nobody really, couldn't tell the difference.
I saw that. And even in the Mission Impossible movies, they be showing crews be rocking them same type masks, the same one.
Yeah. Yeah. But people don't think that stuff real until they see you do it. When they see you do it, then they know it's real. But as long as these other people doing it, they ain't seen it for real. They don't know about Hollywood makeup. Right? That's the FBI makeup is what influenced Hollywood makeup. It ain't the other way around.
Oh, wow.
All of the technology developed through the military for espionage purposes become part of your movies, your Tom Clancy movies, your military style movies, your technologically advanced movies and sci-fi. All of the developments in science tell them how to make that stuff. And then they give the instructions on Hollywood to feed it to the people as comedy or satire or sci-fi or whatever means they want you to perceive it as. But they don't want you to know it's real. So they put it in the movie and tell you that the movie ain't real. But they tell you the real story in the movie while they telling you the movie ain't real. Yeah. It's just like we can sit here and see everything that the protocols of the learned elders of Zion say being done today. We can sit here and go from play to play out the book and see everything being done today. But they say that is a fictional, anti-Semitic, dogmatic piece put together to defame the Zionist Jew. But everything in there that they said they was going to control, they control it. So tell me, is it a playbook or is it a for playbook?
I think it's both. I mean, to me,
because turning military weapons into toys. That's all they're doing when it comes to media and entertainment.
That's facts. Because there's a CIA office in Hollywood, and there's another office of Hollywood in CIA or something like that. Like they're both working hand in hand together, right?
Yeah, you got one in there's a CIA agency in Switzerland too.
Yeah, but it's in the Pentagon where the movie office is. Where they deal with Hollywood and putting out movies and blackmailing directors and producers and stuff like all that's handled in one room in the Pentagon. Now remember, they refined the techniques of mind control through Tavistock in Europe. The Tavistock Institute is they was trying to figure out how can we put music codes in the music and talk to each other, because we call it putting it on the drum. So they was studying that at Tavistock, and they used the Beatles to test it on the public. Right? So they know how to use the frequency. They know how to report and slant the story and everything so that everybody will believe that they telling them what's truth and right. But all the time, they telling them that they usurping somebody. Right? You got to remember, Jacob was trying to steal Esau's birthright. His whole life from the day they came out the womb. It was all about stealing the birthright. Esau's name is Edom. Edom means earth. Earthborn, ruddy red clay.
Mm.
So it's the same as the word Adam, Adama, ruddy red clay, Mississippi clay dirt walking. So Jacob, the usurper, that's what his name means. Tell you that right in the book.
Yeah.
Because he grabbed Esau by the heel and tried to pull him back in the womb so he can get out first to get the birthright. Right? Remember, in Genesis, they said they was going to put the enmity between his seed and her seed. Now, here's the two seeds fighting to get out first so they can determine who's going to have the birthright. So when Esau grabbed, when Jacob grabbed Esau by the ankle, they say we will call his name Jacob, for he is the supplanter. Then what he do? He tried to buy his brother birthright when his brother was hungry by offering them a pot of stew. When that didn't work, he didn't get his birthright. He went in to get the father, Isaac, to bless him. And what did he do? His mama put him on a fur coat, cooked his brother's stew. Esau normally cooked. They mama cooked it and gave it to Jacob with the fur coat on to pretend to be the hairy Esau, the earthborn, who later became known as the hairy barbarian, as in Thundar the Barbarian. Unless he was on another planet, they would just call him He-Man. But since he was on Earth, they called him Thor.
Yep.
Oh man. Yeah.
We didn't know Castle Grayskull was Castle Vatica.
Sure didn't.
Because Vatica's head is the skull.
By the powers of Grayskull. Yeah, man. Look, and all of it really boils down to really imitating Shango. Like that's what all of it, like Thor, He-Man, that really comes from Kabiesi Shango. That's where that character comes from. So it's like that's like it's all our story. Like no matter which way we look at it, it's still our story. Yeah, that's dope. Man, how much long? I know you said you had to roll, Big Chief. How much longer you got? Cause I know we're getting close to the time. I don't know if we can knock a few more out.
We're a little bit over, but I'm stalling a little bit. So
well, shoot, let me know, cause I'm gonna keep on going until we run out of real estate, man. We're gonna keep it popping. So with this, all this, cause we covered a lot, which I knew we would. How does especially with all this extraterrestrial activity? I'm not no Bible connoisseur now, but I know I heard a little bit, saw a little bit of it. But how does Ezekiel's will kind of play a role into what we see with all these crafts happening now, and then also like the Son of Man and the Sons of Light, or when we talk about like Solomon, or Saul, S-O-L, like Solomon's seal. Like how does all that kind of tie into where we are right now?
Well, Solomon's temple is really the soul of man. And the soul of man is really the fire in the middle. And that fire in the middle in itself is when you break down the etymological roots of the word pyramid. So the word pyramid means fire in the middle. So that creates a tetrahedron. And that tetrahedron in itself is a Merkaba, to where you turn into a chariot and you become Ezekiel's will, to where you escape the matrix. So like I said, it's one of those things, it goes back into balance. The balance between the divine feminine and the divine masculine, the centripetal and the centrifugal forces of nature coming together.
Or as I like to say, my flux flow capacity is nothing short of mastery. That's why these riding bastards be endlessly after me, hoping they tragically capture me or even alter destiny. But the rest of these baby G's await be the wake G's in order for us to see the degrees in this game.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
All I need is one mic. Yes, sir. This is for the culture family there. We definitely in here tonight. We definitely in here. We got We got a lot more coming up too, man. For real, we just getting started. Cause I had a few calls a day. I'm like, yeah, it's litty all the way. We all the way up, man. For real, it's going down. Yeah. So okay. So right now, we looking at trying to do some consciousness upgrades or software upgrades. So what are some of the things we can do to kind of, I guess, maximize the potential of what we're experiencing right now when we talk about like the solar flares, all these different things that are happening in nature, especially like some of the positive things, like divine things. Like what can we do to kind of, I guess, tie in or tap in with nature to kind of ride the wave of all this elevated frequency and energy that we're experiencing right now?
Get massages. Simple as that. Get massages. As simple as it sounds, that's going to take you to the next level, because like when you have these neutrinos and these solar flares hitting the body, it's going to hit certain meridians and energy points, and it's going to create a blockage. So you gotta go unravel that DNA when you go get those massages and everything. So just be real gentle with yourself during this time period. With these new energies coming in, be really gentle with yourself. Get massages, spa days, go to the gym. Anything of that nature, anything that's really self-affirming to evolution. I mean, that's what I do. I mean, I can't speak for everybody else, but I'm gonna go get me a damn massage.
I know that's right.
Yeah,
especially the women, right?
Yeah.
The women right now, they need to keep that, because what happened when you have this energy coming in like this, you normally trap it in muscle. In the muscle, because you tensing and relaxing, and you trap packs of that energy. Right. The women need their energy to flow so they don't get what they call bitter spurts. When they just turn mean for no reason because they letting go of pent up energy they didn't want to hold.
Yeah.
If they had the massages, like Bdell saying, it'll keep the energy flowing, and then they can do grounding. But I always tell people the best thing to deal with the ascension symptoms is clean your filters, your liver, your kidney, your intestines, them your filters. They get waste product out of the body. And if your system is well filtered, it runs at optimum performance. And a lot of the stuff will align itself and do a heavy metal cleanse. Because the heavy metal sets on nerve endings and causes them to misfire, which causes pain. That's what fibromyalgia is nerve endings clogged with heavy metals, mostly iron and aluminum fluoride. So you cleanse the metals out, you clean your liver gonna keep your body running at optimum performance. And then massages is gonna help you stay in your best energy, because the better the energy of the women, the faster the upgrades come in.
Oh yeah, that's real. So, let me ask you this:
steam room and sauna too. That'll purge
all that.
Yep.
Yeah.
All that.
Yeah.
Acupuncture, hot acupressure, hot rocks, all that stuff. Whatever you do that make you feel relaxed and like your spirit free, do more of that.
Yeah.
Some people want to go to the chiropractor. Whatever it takes. Whatever worked best for you, you use what worked best. That's the key to chaos magic.
Yes, sir.
Wherever you find the magic that worked for you, you take that magic from that place and make it your own.
Yes, sir. That's facts.
Chaos magic.
And to go into chaos magic right now, I know me and you, Big Chief, we dog guys, like we rock with the dogs, right? So when we talk about that, I know a lot of people like don't really have, I feel like the connection, like the connectivity to hearing their body or hearing their mind or hearing their, emotional, I guess, their emotional, I guess, moment in time right now to like feel what they should do in order to, like to do these things. So when you look at a dog, when a dog gets sick, they naturally or intuitively, instinctively know to eat grass, because the grass somehow, some way is like a cleanse for them, to where it detoxes and push whatever they got themselves into out of their system, and they end up either puking or pooping to get it out, and then they get back to moving like normal. So now for people who are so caught up in like a lot of things that life is bringing on right now that can't really connect with themselves like that, what would you recommend ways for them to maybe try to discover some type of way of getting into an activity or something like that can kind of help them to be able to tap into that higher level of, you know, energy or frequency?
You want to take that, Bdell?
No, you go ahead, Rod.
Look, everybody got a different way to tap in.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody got to find what work best for them. We can give you guidelines, right, based on our experience, but you have to experiment with the guideline to formulate your own frequency where you can understand it. The more you understand what you're doing, the more you can control it, right? So when you're working on your process in this world, the most powerful magic is the magic you write for yourself. If you write it for yourself, it's custom made to the person like a tailor-made suit. And once you understand that all it is paragraph essays, knowing where to put the verbs at, the power words, in order to maximize the effect on the noun. Right? Person, person, thing. What are you trying to affect? You know, like my dogs, I don't see my dogs as pets. Going back to you mentioned them earlier, mine are familiars.
Comrades.
It's a difference.
Yes, sir.
Right? But a lot of people have pets. Another person can be your pet.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
A lot of people say they work every day.
A familiar is an extension of the magician's body. Right. This is why you learn total magic, because I can go into a meditative state and fly eagle or a hawk over whatever I want to see. And he'll project the image from his eyes to my mind, like I was using his vision to see remotely. They don't want you to know you can do it. I'm telling you, you can do it because I do it all the time.
He dropping cheat codes tonight, boy. Look, now that go back to the movie Immortals.
Yeah.
Listen, that's what we are. We eternal beings going through a temporary experience. We just broke eternity up. Instead of being one long, boring ass lifetime, we come through the series of reincarnation. You got to go back to the story of Osiris, because that was always the promise to Osiris. And that's why the first resurrection is the Osirian resurrection. But when he was resurrected, he didn't come back as Osiris. He came back as Horus. Father became the son, and so that the son can become the father and reclaim the throne from his evil uncle Set. And En mean Lord. So Satan is Lord Set, the uncle that put you in this. Elijah Muhammad say that his name was Yaqub. And Yaqub is Jacob. And Jacob is the underminer who tried to steal his brother's birthright. So take us through the whole story to get us right back around to where we at.
Yep. That's facts.
Right. But the only part of the story everybody keep missing when Elijah told it is that when Yaqub's grafted devil came to power, they was being told what to do by some Negroes. The black scientist was guiding the paleface the whole time. Elijah told us, but we ain't know what he was telling us.
Yeah.
They tell you in the movie, They Clone Tyrone. When you get to the end of the movie, it shows you a black man controlling the whole network. It shows you the whole thing. The whole thing.
Yeah.
Like I said, you got to study microbiology and genealogy. You get the recessive from the dominant, not the dominant from the recessive. So that means that it was a melanated demographic of people controlling everything at one point in time, way before the European came into power or gave them the power. Another movie you can watch that basically demonstrates that is Dracula Untold. Yeah, they only show you Europeans in it, but if you really look at the whole story as far as like historical context, and you watch the movie, you can see what's going on.
Yeah, because that's another thing. We talk about what's real, but I don't know which one of y'all want to hit it, but I'm pretty sure both of y'all know Dracula's real, like the real story. I can't remember his real name, Dracula or something like that.
Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah,
he was a dirty Moor.
Yeah.
He was a dirty Moor. Look, he got the name Vlad the Impaler because he had a series of pylons leading up to his villa, and it was bodies impaled all the way up the road. But he was a Moor. But they paint him in the pictures and in the movies as being a pale face. The vampire bloodline is the dirty Moor bloodline.
And these are the ones in Switzerland, right?
Yep, they were in Switzerland. I don't know where them some bitches at now. I know a whole group of them left Antarctica about a year ago.
Yep. And in upstate New York City too.
Now they was having massive UFO. They told us it was an Antarctica meteor shower, but they was playing the video in reverse. That was the evacuation of the ones that don't belong here, or the majority of them. It's still a couple of little hangers on and lingerers behind and some minions, but don't worry, ain't none of them getting away. No, and you ain't worry about it. Ain't none of them getting away. And they're gonna all be on tribunal. You're gonna see who all of them was and what the dirt they did.
And you also they even show you in the movie in the beginning of Dracula, the Dracula movie Vampire in Brooklyn. They talk about the Blackamoor on how they was kicked out of Europe and then they got kicked out of Egypt. They show you that. They show you the nomad process. And then if you notice, the ship that he came on, it was called Demeter. Demeter is the daughter of Kronos. They even came out with a movie called The Voyage of Demeter. And that was after Dracula. Right? And Kronos is the one that's controlling the time analysis mechanism of the simulation that keeps us stuck in a fixed position reality. Like, so all these movies is really like puzzle pieces. I love watching movies. If anything from like the early 2000s and the 80s, it has a lot of authenticity and it has a lot of the original plot that's correlated with the historical and the biblical or whatever timeline that you're following according to these stories in ancient times.
And Kronos is a very, very ancient, I don't know what you want to call him, a deity or figure, right? Like Kronos go way back to like times back to is it like Atlantis and Lemuria times? Or how far back does this figure named Kronos or this energy
Kronos
figure
is European. Kronos is European mythology. Kronos is a take on Kali Ma. It's the patriarchal usurping of the Kali Ma, which is Mother Time.
The Indian god,
right?
Or
She is the triple dark goddess that comes from the triple darkness to bring all things to light. She lived in the shadows as a phantom of herself, and you know her as Time. Though you travel through her womb, you know not that she is the light that shines in the darkness, because all things are given and surrendered to Time. The only constant in the 3D universe is change, and change is measured in increments by the measure of time.
How does that tie into the part in The Golden Child when Eddie and them got to that spot where they saw which to me, it sounded like the same figure you talking about now. You remember in Golden Child when he was trying to get the knife and they got to the figure and to me, it was like some type of serpent or, you know what I'm saying, figure where like had a long tongue and they never showed it. It was like behind like a veil.
Yeah, that was the dragon. When the master finally becomes the master, he becomes the dragon. Because he be spitting that fire when he talk. He's no longer the belly crawling serpent. He done went through all the phases of Scorpio as water in his fixed position to spirit in his freedom of fire. Yeah. Hey, I gotta wrap it up now, man.
Okay.
No, we good. Like I
Man,
think
I
that was
enjoyed this, man. This was great.
I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Hey, me too. Look, we just getting started, man. Look, it was an honor and a
All
pleasure.
the time. We'll do it again, you know.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna holler at both y'all for sure.
All right.
All right,
All right,
appreciate
peace,
you.
family.
Yes,
All
sir.
right.
All right, Bdell. Hey, I appreciate you too, man. Yes, sir. Well tried. We had another banger, man. So shout out to the brother Bdell1014, Big Chief, Rod Hayes, man. This was definitely another powerful explosive event, man. We definitely appreciate you all, family. I appreciate the love and support. And so, yeah, we'll be back soon. I definitely got a lot more in store. So we're just getting started. So I'll definitely have the show description in the comments either tonight or early tomorrow, where I have everybody's information, how you connect with Brother Bdell, Big Rod, the Big Chief. And then, yeah, we got a few more lined up in the very near future, family. So I appreciate the love, support. Shout out to Brother Bdell. Shout out to the Big Chief, man. And we'll see y'all in the very near future, family. We out. Peace. Odabo.
ẹni tó gbàgbé ilé ìsàpò ìyàgbọ́ tẹ́ǹtì ẹni takísà ní tàtàn ò bá padà sílé anítìjàkọ ẹja lọ pé eégún mo sí ẹni gbẹ́rẹ́ ìpàkọ́ forsake not your ancestors and praise your.